Welcome to Anything New. My name is Pete, and as always, I'm here with Matt
What's up?
and Opie.
How's it going, guys?
Anything New is a podcast where we talk about anything new we've been using, perusing, or consuming. Episode 6, we're going to start right off with NFL Week 1 is today. So I'm sure you guys were glued to the TV just as I was.
Dude, yeah, actually, I didn't get to watch everything. I had to go out for a little while, but yeah, I tried to watch as much as I could today.
Spent a lot of time in front of the TV. Just I discovered something today with the NFL,
Uh-oh.
and you two have been experiencing this for a long time. But yeah, I had NFL Red Zone experience for the first time today.
Oh, yeah.
It was amazing.
Once you go red zone, you never go back, I guess. It's fantastic.
I don't know. We've cut the cord here in my house, so we're pretty much all streaming, all platforms if we watch TV. So we, our ISP Spectrum. So I don't know what plan we have, but we do have the NFL Network. But for some reason, NFL Red Zone popped up there, and I'm going to assume it's a free trial, maybe first couple of weeks. But I could not believe how convenient, especially for a fantasy football follower. If you have a fantasy football team, it's wonderful. But I was totally blown away that they cut out all commercials.
Yeah, there's no commercials. So Scott Hansen, he's the MC, he's like the big host, right? And his catchphrase, I don't know if you caught it right at the beginning, but they go live at 1 p.m. Eastern, and they'll chit chat for a few minutes. And the minute the first kickoff goes off, his big catchphrase is 7 hours of commercial free football start now, and it's commercial free. And it's funny because they basically just relay the broadcasts from
Yes.
CBS or Fox. So it's funny because they'll be showing like whatever one of the games on CBS, and they'll be going to a timeout, and that broadcast will start to kind of go to a commercial, and they'll cut away to something else, and he'll always say something like, "Yeah, we caught him trying to go to a commercial. We don't do commercials here. We're going to show you a blah blah blah," and they'll switch to whatever.
Well,
It's the best thing. It's the best way to watch football ever.
Well, being a kind of a football purist, in the beginning when I heard the idea of what the NFL Red Zone was and how they just we're just going to take you to the game when they're getting ready to score, I kind of figured, well, I kind of want to watch how the teams play and all this and see how the flow of the game's going and who's doing what and if players come in and out or whatever. I was pleasantly surprised at how much it's not just when they score. You get to see pretty much, and depending on if other games are on breaks or on TV timeouts or have injuries, you get to see a lot more of the game, and they do a really great job of just cutting out the dead weight in these NFL games.
Yeah.
It was amazing.
Even if they have to backtrack and show you, even if it's not a scoring play, if it's a big play, a lot of times they'll show a game where the offense is in their own part of the field, and then all of a sudden they're in the opposite end of the field, and he'll say, "We're going to show you how they got there in just a moment," and then they'll flash back to the big play that got there. So you never really miss any of the good stuff. They do such a fantastic. They even show all the field goals or the PATs. So I mean, you never really miss anything big.
Wow.
What happened to Andrew Siciliano? Because he was on there
I don't know.
Real.
I've watched Red Zone for years and have only ever seen Scott Hansen.
And this is another thing, guys, and I don't know if Peyton's this way, Pete, but Gavin, he hardly sits through an entire game of anything. He won't sit through an entire. But he was glued to Red Zone. We were set it up. We were in there watching it. Of course, he is in our fantasy league this year, and we'll talk about that a little later. But he was totally glued. I mean, had our fantasy stuff pulled up. We were sitting in the den watching it, and it's just like, we love this. I mean, this is the way kind of to watch football, unless it's your favorite team. I mean, if it's when the Bengals came on, when the Bengals came on at 4, I turned it over to the Bengals game and bounced.
Because Bengals aren't in the red zone very much, so we don't get a lot of coverage. If you're like Matt and you're a Saints fan, then you could watch Red Zone because they're pretty much there the whole time.
If you're following your fantasy and watching the Red Zone, I discovered that if you're not seeing your fantasy team or your fantasy players on Red Zone, you're probably not scoring a lot of fantasy points.
Right.
Yeah. Now you know why the beginning of every football season, I did this just a couple days ago. I spend some time figuring out what do I need to subscribe to get Red Zone. For the last few years, it's been PlayStation View. I'll subscribe to it just for the 3 months that I need it. only because they have Red Zone. That's the only reason. They don't. PlayStation View doesn't exist. YouTube TV was too expensive. I went through the process of subscribing to my internet providers. Fi TV, their internet, they don't have like traditional TV anymore. When you sign up for their TV package, it's all streamed, and you just have to stream it through their own app. But it was only like an extra little bit on top of my internet costs, and then I had to add the sports package. But like I went through all this stuff, subscribed to this stuff just for Red Zone, and at the end of December, cancel it. And it's not, I mean, I haven't watched football without Red Zone for years. I don't think I could do it unless it's the Thursday night game or the Monday night game or the Sunday night game.
You don't realize how many pauses there are until you watch Red Zone, for a few weeks. Because I didn't have Red Zone last year because we had moved up to Ohio, so I was kind of between carriers and all that, so I didn't really have it. But then I got it this year. It's like I think it was $5 extra onto our cable bill.
Well, one of my favorite things that I used to do when I actually had a dish or a DirecTV was load those previous channels up that you would go down the line and just pop back in and out of games.
Yeah,
that's just basically what I would do on a Sunday or a Saturday with college football. Which, man, if there was a college football version of NFL Red Zone,
there is.
Wow. What is it called?
It's called I think it's on ESPN Goal Line. I think is what it's called. It's not. It's basically the college version, but I don't like it as much. I don't think they do as good of a job of showing you every single thing.
I don't know.
Of course, there's a lot more games too. There's a lot more to cover in college.
Shoot, yeah, or maybe just an SEC Red Zone or something. Maybe just your favorite conference. But they did I could not imagine, like, it was seamless. It was absolutely seamless. Even the broad, he's got to be on his game to like.
Oh, you should go on YouTube. There's he's got a couple videos of like behind the scenes of how it runs, all day, and he basically stands at that little podium all day long. There's a YouTube video of he shows where he stands to watch the game. He doesn't stand at that podium obviously when he's not on screen, but there's always he watches. He looks at his Twitter feed during the day, and he'll like respond to people tweeting at him. And for those tweeting me, why aren't we showing the Cowboys game? It's because there hasn't been anything going on in the last 10 minutes or something like that. So it's fantastic. It's great.
Well, enough about the Red Zone. Let's just talk about the season altogether. I mean, it's kicked off like Thursday night,
right?
With the Texans and the champions, the Chiefs, and it was a typical Chiefs-Texans game. The Chiefs ended up, just blowing them off the field almost.
Yeah, there were a lot of times where it was like maybe like a 4th and 1 or a 4th and 2 for the Texans, and they were just come out punting, and you could hear the announcer saying, "You just can't punt. You can't give the ball back to the Chiefs.
Right?
They're gonna score no matter if they get the ball on their 20 or if they get the ball on the 40. So you might as well just go for it and try and keep their offense off the field."
Yeah,
they're a super great team.
They say the same kind of stuff with like Tom Brady, Drew Brees. Sometimes it's like you just don't give the football back to those guys. Do whatever you got to do to not let those guys touch the football.
Speaking of Tom Brady, I mean, one of the biggest stories of the year was Tom Brady's debut with the Buccaneers today, and they played the Saints, and some looked good in sometimes, and he had 2 picks, one for a touchdown.
Pick six,
that one. Yeah.
Well, I mean, he's not in the AFC East anymore, so I mean, that's if he was playing the Dolphins today, they would have won. You know what I mean? But now he's in a big boy division. So
now the only the rebuttal to that is, and I'm just speaking about tradition because obviously we don't know what's going to happen from season to season, but traditionally the Saints defense hasn't really been super great. When they've matched up with the Bucs in the past, the Bucs haven't been super great either, so it kind of balanced itself out. So as a Saints fan, I was worried today thinking the Saints don't have great defense and they're going up against Tom Brady, but it worked out. So, their defense, I have them on the bench in my fantasy team, and I think they scored like 19 points, or maybe it was like 15 or something. But, that was a good game. I mean, I like seeing the Saints score big. It's always fun for me.
A couple of other things that kind of stuck out to me too is just how bad the Eagles were. I mean, how do you let the Washington team with no name beat you this year? And also the Panthers got beat by the Raiders. The Raiders look decent, You know, Pete and I's heart were broken because of the debut of Joe Burrow, our savior, the prodigal son comes home. Looked like a rookie in the first half, but
he did.
I didn't really realize how kind of bad the Bengals offensive line was.
Man,
the Chargers.
Well, Chargers, their strength is kind of, from what I'm hearing and saw today, their defensive line, with Bosa.
Mm-hmm.
So they were just in the backfield, it seemed like, the whole game. So,
right.
I mean, Burrow, it was a tough matchup for him for a first game. But he did make some stupid plays, but you could tell, like, there were a lot of plays where he would, run for 12 yards, get up, run right back to the line. And you can see a quarterback when he's got that moxie and kind of just like a presence.
Yeah.
And I think Burrow has that. And
we're
not used to having that.
Don't be surprised to see the Bengals probably go to a more spread hurry up type of offense, because he really came alive in the fourth quarter when they had to start hurrying things up. That forces a quarterback not to think as much and just to react a lot. It seems like the first half they were trying to run the offense. They were trying to run the ball a little bit with Mixon. And then he was getting sacked. You could tell he was trying to make his reads, and the Chargers were just blitzing him, getting upfield. But when you spread it all out, most of the times they went to an empty set with 5 wide receivers. The Chargers, you just can't blitz a lot with that. And he started throwing some dimes. I mean, in that last couple of drives, he was just dropping some dimes in there.
Yeah, I think he was like 6 for 7 on that final drive at the end of the fourth quarter. And he led them down to the red zone, and then Fat Randy came in and missed the field goal. Yeah, they're tearing him. They're tearing Randy Bullock up on social media.
That catch by AJ Green that was he pushed off on or didn't push off on, whatever. Yeah. That's every play in the NFL to me. That was a spectacular catch. It was good seeing him back because he is on my fantasy team. We'll talk about that. I was hoping he would show up a little bit more. And T. Higgins also got in. Just shout out to the rookie from Knoxville. Yeah. But speaking of kickers, how many extra points have been missed today? Did you guys see that? Did you pick up?
I didn't. Quite a few.
No, I didn't see.
I mean, it was a kicker nightmare today.
You would think the kickers wouldn't really be affected by not having preseason games and stuff, because all they got to do is go out and kick. It's the same thing, they just go out and practice.
Socially distanced position in the NFL. I'm the kicker. They don't. Nobody hangs out with him.
It's because they don't have the guys in the end zone waving.
Oh my gosh, it was a terrible.
There's nobody on the other side of the field goal.
Maybe it was the red zone thing, but maybe I was just in tune a little bit today. But it seemed like every 5 minutes there was somebody missing an extra point today.
Yeah, it was interesting. I mean, I'm excited. I'm really pumped up for the season. It was a little downer for the Bengals to lose, but I'm used to it. But Burrow went out there, didn't get hurt, and he can play next week. So
let me ask you guys: did you guys even kind of did it feel even weird without fans or without the crowd?
So really the only time it felt weird is if you're talking about just the traditional top-down camera angle playing football here in the crowd. That didn't feel weird. The only time it did feel weird was when you're hearing the crowd, but it's like from when they choose a different angle and you can see up in the stands there's nobody there. Yeah. I'm like, where is everybody? So I actually forgot on Thursday when the Chiefs and the Texans were on. I forgot for a little while and that was a little bit different too, because they let fans into Arrowhead and they let fans down in Jacksonville today as well. Those are the only two stadiums during this weekend of games, but aside from those two, I mean, I forgot that people weren't there,
right? And
it's kind of interesting. They explained how it worked on Red Zone today. He was talking about how NFL Films actually provided crowd noise to CBS and Fox. That's where the crowd noise came from, and they actually used crowd noise from each stadium. It's not like they just got generic crowd noise. Yeah. So, like down in the Superdome, they use crowd noise from the Superdome.
That's cool.
Wait, did they play in the Superdome? Yeah, they did. But, and they use crowd noise from specific scenarios too. So if it was a 4th and 1, they use crowd noise from a 4th and 1 situation from that stadium, just from an older game. I thought that was really cool.
Some of the games I could hear the field. I enjoy hearing the field. when the Premier League kind of started back up, if you had the app, you could watch the game with or without the crowd noise, and they took their crowd noise from the FIFA video game that EA Sports puts out, and it's tailored to. They've recorded the crowds of each team, and it's tailored to each team, so they kind of did the same thing. But as far as the NFL goes, I mean, I just really liked it. And another thing I like too is all the nonsense that's usually on the sidelines, other than players and coaches, like all those areas, cheerlead. I mean, I hate not seeing the cheerleaders and all the people who actually have jobs. Their life kind of depends on being there. Not that I hate. I miss the cheer. You know what I'm saying. But
I miss the cheerleaders. I'm just saying. Yeah.
But just all those corners of the end zones where there's like thousands of usually camera guys and media members and stuff like that aren't there. That was kind of odd. That kind of stuck out to me. But everything else, just it kind of felt normal. The game felt like it was played normally. I don't think the players. I was watching a little bit of the Cowboys game earlier, and the first play was one of the defensive linemen jumped off sides, and they're kind of like Chris Collinsworth was kind of like, with no crowd in the stands, the hard count is a hard count. It's not really a hard count anymore. It's like, you can hear everything. So a normal count it sounds like a hard count, and he jumped off sides. So.
Well, so that's interesting about, because, they, in the stadium, the players aren't hearing the artificial noise that we're hearing. It's just dead. It's just quiet where they're at.
Right.
So that does affect the game, if in a 4th and 1, the crowd usually gets into it. The quarterback can't hear, or the lineman can't hear the count. They have to call a timeout. I mean, crowd noise and in momentum, how does the lack of crowd noise affect momentum?
Yes.
So I'm interested in that aspect of like how the lack of crowd physically on the field affects the gameplay.
Yeah, and I've thought about that too. Especially you're going to look at the record at the end of the year, especially places like Seattle, places like New England, stuff like that. I mean, weather's going to be always a factor in New England, but there's some places that are just hard to play in because of the crowd, and it'll be kind of interesting to see how the records, dictate that.
So it's our first week of our fantasy football league, and I had the pleasure of playing Mr. Opey today, and he put a good old fashioned Tennessee smackdown on me.
Listen, I don't know. I was trailing you, and I was cussing Matt Ryan, and I think they just threw a couple of Hail Marys at the end of the game to try to get down the field. And I happened to have Matt Ryan. I happened to have Calvin Ridley, and I think he threw to Calvin Ridley like 2 plays at the end and really shot my score up there. But no, I've had a pretty good fantasy day today.
Matt, how are you liking your fantasy football team?
Well, I wasn't super thrilled with it after the draft, but today, I mean, I'm pleasantly surprised. All but 2 of my players have scored in the double digits. I'm handily beating my opponent, but he has 5 players left to play tomorrow.
Yeah, so. He's going to play. You're playing Matt.
I'm playing our buddy Dan's brother. Matt, so yeah,
he's a huge Titans fan.
Yeah,
and the Titans play Monday night, and he has 5 Titans, I think, in the starting lineup or something.
That was like the most Homer draft.
Yeah,
ever.
Yeah.
But I was a little. So I've got Deshaun Watson, and I was a little. He was like my 3rd or 4th pick, but my position in the draft, that's just who I had to go with, and I was a little underwhelmed on Thursday night until, after the 3rd or 4th quarter, and then he kind of turned it on for me, and he actually wound up with more points than Pat Mahomes. So I thought that was a good showing. That was a good showing for him. I just hope he can keep that up.
I'm blaming the scoring system on all that all that garbage.
Well, I took a chance. I like following rookies because I follow college a little bit more than I do NFL, and I know the rookies that come in. And I took a chance on Henry Ruggs III out of Alabama, and he was like the Raiders. I think he was their number 1 draft pick. And he got in, scored a few points, but it was good to see him in and get it going. But I think since I'm the commissioner of the league this year, I'm going to try to, keep up with it. And I was thinking to myself, it'd be cool to have a little award after every week. And I think like something like the bonehead bench player of the week, someone that you leave on your bench.
Yeah.
Like I got Aaron Rodgers as my backup quarterback, and the entire day Gavin was just giving me such a hard time because Aaron Rodgers on the bench. He ended up scoring,
torched him.
Yeah, he ended up scoring 30 points on the bench for me, and Matt Ryan just scored 23, and that was a good 23 because it looked there for a while he was only going to score about 8 points. But so I think I'm going to kind of look through the league and see if I could do something. If everybody will catch on to that, that'd be funny.
It would be.
I'll make a correction. The Saints defense on my bench scored me 17 points, which is crazy high fantasy points for New Orleans defense. So good, especially playing against Tom Brady. So that was a little bit of. I'll have to watch them for a couple weeks, and I've got the Eagles in my starter. So I'm sorry, the Steelers. So I'll have to watch them tomorrow night.
Did Gronk do anything today?
No, he caught like one pass, I think.
Well, two receptions for 11 yards got me 3.1 points. I don't know how that works out. Opie, you got to fix that.
Peyton was like, Peyton said, "Why would you draft Gronk? He's been partying for 2 years."
Yeah, I know.
I was like, "You're right.
He's not wrong."
I have him in one of my other leagues, and that's usually what happens to me. I get in way too many leagues, and then whichever.
For me, it was either him or Tyler Eifert, which I have on my bench because he was the only other tight end I could get, and he did even worse. So,
right?
Oh wow,
dude! Old Minshew down in Jacksonville today. He tore it up. I think he threw 3 or 4 touchdowns today.
Well, plus you get the 5-point bonus for the mustache. In fantasy. So,
and that's another one. The Jags won too. How do you get beat by the Jags?
See,
week one.
That's why, and we've talked about it before. Excuse me. That's why I like the NFL way more than college, because you never know from season to season in the NFL who's gonna win, who's gonna beat who. You never know who's gonna have a good season. In college, it's the same teams every year. It's boring.
But one thing we do know about the NFL, the Browns are going to be terrible.
Except, the Browns are the one constant.
Yeah, did you see there was one? It was like they were on like a 4th and 45, and it said 2020 with all these surprises, but one thing is constant, and it showed the 4th and 45.
Did they even score a touchdown?
I don't even think that made the red zone for me, so I didn't get to see much Browns highlights on offense.
They were bad.
The only time the Browns are ever on red zone is when the other team that they're playing.
They're on defense.
Yeah, right.
Well, speaking of football,
football.
Opie, English Premier League Week 1.
Yep. It started this weekend as well, and I'm a big Premier League fan. I pull for the Mighty Reds of Liverpool, and they're the defending champions. And they played their first game this week against Leeds United. And if you don't know a little bit about the Premier League, in England, there's several leagues of soccer, and it's kind of, think of it like a pyramid. The lower leagues, you get promoted up to the higher leagues, and if you lose at the higher leagues, you get demoted down to the lower leagues. And Leeds United was the winner of the championship, which is the league right below the Premier League. So, 2 new teams get to come in, 3 new teams get to come into the Premier League every year, and the 3 are relegated the year before. So it was a 4-3 game. Liverpool ended up winning on a penalty shot, and again, they're facing the same kind of COVID things, restrictions. There's no fans there. Which in England, I mean, much like the SEC and much like the NFL, fans are rabid about their soccer, about their football, and it's a lot of the same. Like I said earlier, they're pumping in the crowd noise, but it felt genuine. It felt good. I was glad to see it back, and we're kind of a soccer house and a football house here, so we were enjoying it. We were glad to get the win and hopefully bring home another championship. But maybe next year I can get you guys to pick a team and we'll follow them week by week.
I was going to subscribe to Soccer Red Zone, but there just would never be anything on.
Yeah, wow. They don't score.
You know what the funny thing is? You always say that, and when I'm watching a game or you're around me while there's a game on, something crazy good happens and you guys get excited. But that's cool. I'll keep you up. You keep you guys updated. And I'm sure
I'll just keep up with it through you.
My team's Everton. Do you remember that?
And they had a big victory over the mighty Tottenham Hotspurs.
I mean, I knew that
1-0. And Matt likes to pull for the worst team in the league, Manchester United. And
are they the worst team?
No, they're one of the best, but they're Liverpool's arch rivals, along with Everton. You guys, like, quote unquote, pull for my two nemesis.
Didn't you say Man U is like the Yankees of soccer? Like they sort of just buy their wins.
Well, that's Manchester City now. Okay. Who have oil tycoon owners, and If you ever hear the name Chelsea, Chelsea's owned by a Russian billionaire as well. It's weird how the English soccer is done with their buying. They try to keep it fair. They have some fair play rules intact, kind of like, but it's nothing like a salary cap or anything like we have. Some people kind of wish that would happen. It would kind of keep the leagues more competitive. But there is like 6 big teams in the league that are always going to stay in the league, the top of the league. So every now and then they'll go up and down, but other than that, those 6 teams will always stay where they're at, and just because of the money. So yeah, I'll give you an update next week, guys.
I just chose Everton because they had Howard, the goalie.
Yeah, Tim Howard,
the Olympic team. And then he went to Everton. So
well, you guys, this is so. Just on that point, Christian Pulisic, who is the United States, that's their golden boy. That's our main guy. He's from Hershey, Pennsylvania. He went at 17 years old. He went to Germany at Borussia Dortmund to play in their academy. Played with them and then got bought by Chelsea. He's their number 10, and if you know anything about soccer, number 10 usually is reserved for one of the better players. I mean, players like Lionel Messi's number 10, and teams usually have a lot of expectations for you when they give you the number 10. So if you want to follow a team, or if you just want to follow Christian Pulisic, he plays for the Chelsea Blues in the Premier League. So I won't fault you for following that team, even though they are also a rival of Liverpool. I wish we would get it. We almost bought him because our current manager, Jurgen Klopp, was the manager.
You're just making up names now.
Yeah, right.
No,
Jurgen Schmirgen from the Bjergen Fjord.
Anyway, he was the manager at Dortmund when Pulisic was there, and there was talks of us Liverpool signing him, but we didn't end up signing him. So anyway, go on. We can go to the next topic. I'm done.
I can't wait to hear about it next week. I want to hear more.
We told him we would give him some Premier League time.
It's kind of like when you have a small child who wants to play your video game, so you just hand him an unplugged controller.
Next time we'll just mute him during this segment.
Yeah. Right.
I'm just kidding. I need to learn more. I need to become more sports cultured. Throughout the world. But yeah, let's move on. Well, go ahead.
Hold on. Let me shout out my son, Gavin. He's 14 years old, and he's a freshman. He started his first varsity soccer game.
Wow.
In goal on last week. He did well. We ended up losing 4-3. It was a crazy game. Lots of bad calls. It was really intense for the first game of the year. That was last Friday.
Good job, Gav.
He's also 7 feet tall and probably just beat up all the other kids on the field.
Gavin is a grown man.
Yeah, right.
Yep.
He is. Like, I saw him for the first time in like 6 months. A few weeks ago, and I was like,
he went through puberty at age 6.
He's a grown man.
He now has a full-time job and a family of his own.
And now we're just embarrassing him. All right, let's move on. Microsoft announces their Xbox Series X and S console.
Yeah, so I added this to the show notes because just we're not so much of a news podcast as we are a new to us podcast, but I wanted to bring it up because I wanted just to talk about it for a bit and get y'all's thoughts about just Microsoft and the Xbox Series X/S and just everything that they're doing with the new generation of consoles. Supposedly the X is going to be $500, the S is going to be $300. The Series S will be more powerful than the Xbox One X now. It'll still do the ray tracing and the 60 FPS, but at a 1440p resolution versus the 4K resolution of the Series X. What? Just want to get your guys' thoughts on. I mean, do you plan on getting either of these? Are you even interested or anything like that?
Well, yeah. I mean, I'm going to get the Series X, of course.
Yeah.
I like the S, the idea of it. I mean, it's not going to have an optical drive, so it's going to save some money because there's a lot of people that only digitally get their games now. I'm more excited for the X just because the 4K, what they say, 120, is that what it could go up to? Something like that. So I mean, that'll be incredible. But they say that, but then we'll actually have to see it to believe it. I think it's one of those things.
Well, and then on top of that, I know you guys and me a little bit less so, we talked about it before, are hardcore PC gamers. So do you even care that there's new Xboxes coming?
Well, sure. And I mean, of course I care because my son will have to have it on day one, hopefully. So that'll give me an excuse to get it. But I mean, yeah, I'll support the gaming industry by buying whatever they throw out.
Yeah.
It's going to be awesome.
Yeah, I liked hearing about the Series S because it's, comparatively speaking, more affordable, less expensive.
Sure.
It's still going to be more powerful than the best Xbox that you can buy right now.
Yeah.
And it sounds like it'll basically do everything the Series X will do, just at not that 4K resolution, which still for kids is fantastic. So I would really like to get my son a Series S for Christmas because he's got one of the OG Xboxes, like the big fatties that came out.
Yeah, and I've got the big fatty.
Yeah, and it's
big fatty here.
Slow. I mean, when he hits the start, when he powers it on, he could then go like make a sandwich and read a book before it actually boots up. Yeah.
Now let me ask you this: does he got the big fatty that came with the Kinect, the original Kinect? Because mine,
I'm not sure.
Was actually my brother's, and he bought it specifically for Destiny. Destiny. The first Destiny came out for Xbox One. His had when the Xbox One included the Kinect. Then that was the second gen Kinect, not the first gen Kinect.
Right.
Yeah, that's how old mine is because it was packaged together. It's that box right up there.
Yeah.
See it, yeah. On there, and it's got the Kinect with it inside of it. So
yeah, I just think I don't
know why it's slow. Why would it be slow?
I don't know. It's just, I don't know. It's old. He's got a bunch of games on it. I'm not real sure. He doesn't ever use it, and I think that's so that's at his mom's house. So at my house, he has an OG Xbox here too in his bedroom. He never uses either one of them because they're slow, and he mostly games on PC. But I just like what Microsoft is doing in general because I feel like they are less about winning the console war. Basically doesn't exist anymore. It's PlayStation is, here's the absolute best games that you're ever going to play, and they're only available on our system. Microsoft is, we just want you to play games, and we're going to give you a bunch of different ways to play them. We don't really care how you play them or where you play them. We just want you to play video games, and we really like you to play our video games so that you invest in our ecosystem. But I feel like they're going off in two different directions, and you shouldn't even really compare them anymore because it's all about how. It's not about what do you want to play anymore. It's about how do you want to play. And I'm so intrigued by the direction that Microsoft is taking with these different consoles and Game Pass, adding EA the EA access thing,
all access.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
Game Pass is in my opinion, that's probably the biggest breakthrough in gaming. Just being able to play it anywhere, or like, they'll release a game that they've been developing, like Flight Simulator. They've been developing that game for 5-7 years, and on day one it's available on Game Pass. That you could play on your PC. I don't know. I just think that, like you said, Matt, they're more concerned with just people being able to put a controller in their hand if they're sitting at a computer or if they're sitting at their Xbox and just have one account and play and have fun. Where you're right, PlayStation they come out with the incredible, first party games, and they're incredible, but they're so locked in, and they don't play well with others.
Right. Microsoft has got deals with Nintendo. You can play Minecraft on anything, and Sony doesn't want you to talk to anybody else. They want you to, they want you to stay in a one console relationship, and Microsoft is more polygamous. They don't really care. They just want you to play games.
Well, let me ask you guys.
All that being said, I will buy a PS5 too.
Now, I haven't really read a lot into it, but the things that I always worry about, like I'm always last to the game when it comes with the newer consoles. I usually get the new console a year later. But launch titles. Is there any? We know that it's just going to be Game Pass, but all access or whatever. But is there any launch titles? From what I saw from the little E3 or what? It wasn't E3, but it was something that we watched. There wasn't a lot of super
Well,
great
Halo
launch
was
titles.
delayed, right?
Yeah, Halo was delayed to next
They
year.
were kind of hoping that would be a big launch title. That would have sold a bunch. No, I mean it's. Did they have a Fable coming out? Was that?
Yeah, but not at launch.
That's not at launch either.
I don't think so.
And I guess you don't really have to worry about backwards compatibility anymore, because if you've got an Xbox One, you probably downloaded the games anyway, because in order to play them, and you own them. So unless you buy the the S without the optical drive, you should be able to play all your games you've ever bought for the Xbox One on the Xbox X. Right?
Yeah, and that's the thing is like with the smart delivery and the the backwards compatibility with 4 different generations of Xbox. I mean, and not every game, but I mean even some original Xbox games will be compatible with the Series X. I mean, it's just fantastic. I just really like, there's so many people that are down on Microsoft and down on Xbox because they don't have any first party games, or they don't have any good games or whatever. But you just have to look at. You can't just look at games. You have to look at what experience you want to have, and how quickly do you want to be able to just pick up and play a game? Do you want to have to buy it? Do you want to have to mess with PC stuff, or do you just want to get a console and play games? Because if that's all you want, you can get a fantastic console in the Series S, which admittedly it's a great console, and Game Pass, and you can play a slew of great games. And on top of that, not only is Microsoft saying we just want you, because I think Microsoft really just wants you to subscribe to Game Pass. I think that's what their end goal is.
Yeah.
They want to be like Netflix of video games.
Yeah, they're going to offer you 2 new great consoles, and you can pick which one you want to play them on. On top of that, they're also saying if you choose our game service and one of our game consoles, you don't even have to give us any money up front, because they have that the service where you can pay monthly. Xbox All Access, I think, where you can pay $25 a month for Game Pass and a Series S, or $35 a month for the Series X and Game Pass for 2 years. So, I mean, they are giving you so many different ways to just play video games, and I dig it. I love that.
Here's some of the launch titles. So we got Destiny 2, obviously.
Okay.
Beyond Light, so that's kind of like the
next expansion. Yeah.
Yep.
Right.
Dirt 5, which would be a racing game, which I'm sure that would be nice.
Oh, is the cat game?
I don't see that on here.
I don't
Gears
think that's
Tactics.
Stray? Was that what it was called? The cat game? Stray?
Maybe.
Yeah, I think that might have been what it was. Gears Tactics would be kind of cool.
Oh, okay.
Like
so
a Gears game, but like a tactics.
Okay.
And they Microsoft bought the
Gears Tactics is already out.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it says already available on Windows PC. The Gears of War strategy game. Yeah, it'll be out November 10th. Making it the only Xbox Game Studios published title confirmed for launch. Okay. And they did buy the company that made what was the Hellfire or what was that?
Hellblade.
Hellblade, yeah. They bought them, right?
Right.
And so that's going to be an exclusive. But I think that's at launch. I don't see it on the list, but I thought that was there. And the Assassin's Creed Valhalla is going to be a launch title.
Yeah, but it's not exclusive.
Right.
So, I don't know. I mean, it's...
so they moved the release date up a week so that it could launch with the Xbox.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, so I mean, I still... I plan on getting a Series X at some point. Obviously, I've got to go with PS5 first, just if for no other reason than Spider-Man Miles Morales, because the Spider-Man PS4 game was my favorite video game of all time. But so I have to follow up with that. I have to have a PS5 for that. Plus, just when I thought I could get out, Nvidia pulled me right back into PC gaming with their 3080. So I got to grab a 3080, which is going to leave me next to nothing for a Series X. So that'll have to wait.
I mean, this is the guy who 2 weeks ago he's
PC shaming.
I'm done.
PC shaming.
I don't know how you guys do it. It's drivers
PC
this,
shaming.
drivers that.
It is
blah 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 blah. and now he's going out and buying
all the posts. I'm pulling up all the PC Shame posts,
and then he's going out buying the 3080, which for everyone listening is like the Ferrari of video cards is getting ready to come out. So
it's not the best.
Well, it's still a Ferrari. It might not be a Bugatti, but it's a Ferrari.
Yeah.
I mean, there'll be one level higher consumer video card.
Did you guys see the screenshot of the video card next to the?
It's huge.
It's huge.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're going to have to go full tower. All you mid tower guys, have a good one. That's why
right.
That's your fancy little towers that you can put up on your desk next to your monitor with your RBGs.
Yeah. Just cut a hole out of the back of that tower so the video card can stick out the back.
My tower is like a mini apartment, so I could put 2 of them in there.
Matt, it's going to be like the Dodge Charger at the end of Fast and Furious. It's going to have the engine sticking out of the back, and as soon as you fire that baby up, your tower is going to go across your living room.
American Muscle.
Did you guys? Let's move on. Cobra Kai season 1.
Yeah. Speaking of,
sweep the leg, Johnny. Sweep the leg.
Johnny Lawrence is back, y'all.
Put him in a body bag.
This was actually released on YouTube TV. This was a YouTube exclusive, right?
Yeah. So the first 2 seasons were YouTube Red. They were produced for YouTube Red, their YouTube subscription thing.
Yep.
They have since Netflix has grabbed the rights and put the first 2 seasons out already. And it's not brand new. Like, it's been out there for just a little while, 2-3 weeks maybe. And then they're also season 3 will be exclusive to Netflix next year in 2021. I thought it was already out, so I was disappointed. But yeah, I actually watched the entire first season over the course of started Friday night and just finished it a little bit earlier today. It's only 10 episodes per season, and the episodes are only 23 minutes. So you could sit down and watch a whole season. It's like maybe a 4-hour movie or something. Yeah.
Yeah, I like those where you can just kind of sit down and knock out a couple episodes and.
Yeah. But it sounds, for when I first heard about it, I thought, oh, this is kind of they're kind of making a silly sequel to Karate Kid, and but it's actually really interesting. I mean, they get William Zabka, who played Johnny, and Ralph Macchio played Daniel, and a lot of other a few other actors from the original movie. There's a lot of references to the original movie, flashbacks with scenes from the movie.
Oh, that's cool.
But they did it in a really great way. They gave these characters some depth to where they could have been real easy with Johnny. You know the premise. Johnny reopens the Cobra Kai dojo. And they could have made it real easy to where he's kind of the jerk again, and he opens a Cobra Kai and he trains a whole group of new kids, but they're kind of jerks too. And then Daniel trains kids, and they're the quote-unquote good guys. But it's a lot more nuanced than that. Johnny, he's a jerk, but he does have a heart. And he does, have feelings, and he reluctantly takes on a new kid, but the kid is a nice kid, and so you kind of got him teaching this sort of more brutal style of karate, but the kid's nice. And then Daniel is also a really nice guy, but he can also be sort of a douche as well. And it's just really, there's not really one protagonist and antagonist like there was in the original movie. And then by the time the end of the season, the last episode rolls around, even some of the kids have changed. Their development has changed them from one way or another. And it's fantastic. And I cannot wait to start the second season because of where it left off. And I really want the third season after that, but it's not coming out till next year. I mean, it's if you're a fan at all of the original movie, and I would say just at least season 1 only touches on the first movie.
Okay.
So there's one quick reference to part 3 in one of the episodes, but it all hinges on you have seen the first original Karate Kid. And if you're a fan of that, I would watch this for sure. It's not one of those things where, oh, they ruined my childhood by making a dumb sequel. It's a good follow-up. It really is.
Okay.
You can believe that these characters, that Daniel and Johnny wound up where they wound up in life. It's a good follow-up. I really like it.
How's the acting?
Wait. I got one question.
Yeah.
Is Hilary Swank in it?
No.
But she's in the next Karate Kid.
Oh my God. She's not in the next one. She's in what was the one she was
It was called The Next Karate Kid, yeah.
The Next
Karate Kid.
She was
that was technically part 4, but yeah.
I cannot stand 3 was brutal, and then 4.
2, dude.
I loved 2 when I was a kid. 2 was awesome,
bro. Was a great, like, that's up there. Like, we do. I mean, there's a lot of people that had discussions about sequels. You know, Empire Strikes Back's probably one of your best ones. Godfather 2. You know, some of those that follow up the original. But man, no one ever mentions Karate Kid 2. That was a great.
I loved it.
Sequel to the first one.
Great, incredible. Like,
I loved it, if for no other reason that, you know, in the first one, you know, you hear about the crane kick, and it's, if done right, cannot be defended against. And at the end of part 2, he does the crane kick, and the guy just swipes him away.
I can remember being at the theater, and he went up to do the crane kick. I'm like, it's over, baby. Let's go. Here it is. And then it was blocked, and I was just like,
he's screwed.
Yep.
That was awesome. And like, you know, they pick up the little
right,
and the little thing between their hands, little drum thingies.
In the storm, in the typhoon or water that come through. Oh man,
the soundtrack was fantastic. I had that on LP. Used to listen to it all the time. Holy cow! Yeah.
Oh, ones and twos.
Yeah. But yeah, so I recommend, if you're a fan of any of them, don't be scared to watch this. This is a worthy follow-up to where these characters would naturally be in their life. It
sounds good. We need to get moving along. We're running out of hard drive space.
No.
Not really. I got a big M.2. Don't tell anybody.
That's okay.
All right, Batman 3 Jokers.
I just wanted to mention this one real quick because I read this one yesterday. It's a comic that came out a couple, 2-3 weeks ago. It's been in the work for about 4 years. And just to give you the cliff notes of the cliff notes, basically several years ago, Batman sat in this like cosmic chair, right? And it gave him the knowledge of the universe, right? And he asked the chair, he said, who is the Joker? Because in the comics, the Joker has never had a true origin in canon comics. He maybe has in like Elseworlds type stuff, or he's never had a true origin. So Batman said, who is the Joker? And you didn't hear what the chair told him, but there was a panel where his eyes got wide and he said, that's not possible.
Ooh.
And then like
it's Alfred. I knew it.
So maybe it was a while after. I can't quite remember because it's been so long now. This was like 4 years ago. It was revealed that the chair told him, didn't tell him who it was, but said there's actually 3 Jokers.
What?
And that was supposed to be a big thing that they were going to resolve in the comics, and it never came to fruition. And they've been working on it for years, and then finally, just a few weeks ago, released a title called Batman 3 Jokers, and it's under the DC Black Label imprint, which is not necessarily canon stories, but it's stories for more adult level. And it's a story about the follow-up from that. So it's only the first issues, but the fallout is apparently there's been 3 Jokers this whole time. Because you can look at the Joker from different eras. He's kind of campy in one era, and he's a little bit more sinister in one era, and then the more modern Joker is a little bit more calculating. And apparently, I don't know how it's going to come out because we haven't finished the story yet, but there's 3 of them, and even and it's not a spoiler because that's what the story's about. And in the book, it actually at one point shows 3 of them together from 3 different eras, and so we're kind of left wondering, okay, how is this possible? We still don't have a definitive origin. We still don't know who the Joker is, what his real name is, and I don't ever want to know. I don't think we should ever know because that's what makes the Joker great, is he's so mysterious. But I mean, imagine if basically like Heath Ledger's Joker and Jared Leto's Joker and Jack Nicholson's Joker all existed, and we never realized it. So that's it's just I just wanted to mention it because it's a really interesting story. And we had talked about it a bit. I know our buddy Dan was streaming the Batman Arkham games, and we were talking about The Boys and how, which we'll be talking about in a second, and how superhero stories that are a little bit more dark and sinister are really, and have a little bit more depth to them, are really interesting. And this is one of those where it's a little bit darker. It's sort of twisted that there have been apparently 3 Jokers that have existed throughout the course of time, and we'll figure out how that plays out. But if you're interested in just a cool Batman story, this is one's just called Batman 3 Jokers, and you can get it digitally or wherever comics are sold. It's great, and the art's great. Jason Fabok on art, he's one of the greatest, or one of the best pencilers out there right now. And then James Tynion, the third or the fourth, I think. He was that one actually writing it. Or, no, I'm sorry, not him. I got that mixed up with it's Jeff Johns.
I was gonna say.
Yeah, I got that mixed up with another Batman story I'm reading. So yeah, Jeff Johns is writing it, and I like his writing, so I'm interested.
Yeah, he's in my top 10 for sure.
Yeah.
Let's talk about The Boys.
Yeah. Speaking of dark superhero stuff.
Yeah, super dark, super grody in some places. So don't talk about episode 3.
Okay.
Because I know that something big happens in episode 3, and I'm on episode 3, but I haven't watched it yet. So, but 4 was just released, right? So this is The Boys on Netflix,
the Amazon
show that we talked about last week. So 1 through 3 were released at launch, and then episode 4 was released like Friday, wasn't it?
Yeah. So it's the first 3 came out at once, and then it's weekly on Fridays after that on Amazon.
So are you guys caught up? Have you watched all the way through 4?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and something happens in 4, which is really crazy. I won't say what.
So it just keeps getting crazier and crazier.
Yes,
they love to do that.
I want you guys. You guys have to watch episode. Get through 4. Well, actually, I guess by the time we do this next week, they'll be through 5.
Yeah.
There's something happens in 4 that I want to hear what you guys think.
Is it better than the baby scene from season 1?
I won't say anything. I just want to hear what you guys think about.
That's my favorite. That's my favorite part. When he holds up the baby and it's like, doing the laser beam eyes.
That's really cool.
I won't say anything about it. I just want you guys to watch at least through 4 so that we can talk about something that's
okay.
Just something it's twisted.
Just tell me this: is there breast milk involved?
I'm not going to say anything about anything. I don't want to say anything. But yeah, if
Homelander.
No, I think we've talked about it before. But if you want to watch, there's a lot of people that are sort of iffy on comic book stuff and superhero stuff, but The Boys is one that you can watch. Sure, it's superhero related, but it's dark.
It is.
It's twisted.
I was just cracking up because I think it's episode 2 or 1 of this season. Homelander's sitting there with his son eating breakfast. Is that season? That's not episode 3. But he takes a drink of regular milk and kind of just like an eye roll.
Yeah.
I don't know if you caught that or not.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Oh, he's such a good actor. I mean, that dude. Oh,
he is, man. He's awesome.
That's so funny.
All right, we're gonna move along. We're gonna start talking about some pickups that we got.
Pickups.
Yeah, pickups.
I'm gonna go first, Matt.
Okay.
I'm feeling it.
Go for it.
Let's go.
Okay. I'm gonna give you guys. Let me see here. I picked up something, and I want to kind of make it a surprise, but I want to kind of give it a reveal, and I'm gonna read the description, and I'm gonna see if you guys can guess what it is.
Okay, I like games.
Okay, you're gonna get it really easily. This isn't gonna be too difficult. So I'm gonna read.
You can play Super Mario Brothers on it. Oh, I think I know.
The blank features adjustable turbo controls for the A and B buttons.
I know what this is.
Which could be toggled on or off with a button. Users can adjust the rate of the turbo, i.e. how quickly the A or B button is pressed.
Listen, I'm going to spoil this. You got to let me do this because I already told the guys about it. So,
oh, you did?
Yes. So, if you haven't been listening to the podcast, we like to collect retro games, older video games, and things like that. And one thing that back in the day that I had that I always talk to Pete about is a controller that was specifically made for the Nintendo Entertainment System, which is that little system right back there. That's my original Nintendo. And I always regret, I don't know where mine went. I don't even know how, but it's called the NES Advantage. And it was a joystick controller, and this thing was large.
Yeah, set in your lap or on a desk or something.
All right, we're going to do the reveal. This is for Facebook and for the Twitch channel. But here we go.
There it is.
Oh, man.
It's glorious.
Just the way. And it looks clean, too.
Dude, I only get clean stuff, bro.
Is it? Oh,
let me tell you what's better than this one, though.
What?
You gotta put one of those is mine.
He had 2 of them.
I'm gonna PayPal him.
So he had 2. So I bought them both. They're $15. And so so I'm gonna pick out the prettiest one for me, and then give Opie the uglier one.
The dirty yellow one.
I will buy that. Yes, I'm so
But
excited.
these are really cool because they had a turbo button on them, and then you could do the little selector switch, and like the little red button would blink faster for however further you had the turbo push.
I remember specifically renting a game called Bigfoot for the Monster Truck game for the NES. And I can't remember if the controls to move, you basically raced monster trucks. You had one at the top, one at the bottom of the screen, and it was a side-scrolling monster truck racing game. Now, in order to get the trucks to go faster, you just didn't hold down A or B. You moved your controller like back and forth, like your thumbstick. You would have to either go around or backwards and forwards. And I remember being so good because when I would use the advantage, I would just work that joystick back and forth or around or whatever. And I played it so much that I think it really wore mine out. It wasn't really great, but
these are in good shape. And
they are.
They're not yellowed. Like a lot of this this gray plastic from the 90s, 80s and 90s will yellow.
Yep. That's awesome.
My old school SNES that I have around here somewhere is just
much nostalgia.
Pure yellow.
Yeah. That's what I picked up. So, Opie, you can expect to get one of those soon.
Brother, I appreciate it, and I will get you that.
No problem. Matt, tell us about your pickups here, bro.
Yeah.
You go to a getting spot?
I went to a couple of getting spots. One called Amazon.com and one called GameStop. Speaking of retro games, and to tie into one of my pickups from last week, the Genesis Mini, I went with the 8-bit DOE wireless Genesis controller. And then I thought, well, why stop there? I've also got an SNES Mini, so I went with the SNES, the 8-bit DOE wireless, specific to those. Now, you can get these like that are USB to work with the Switch and stuff like that, but these are made for the Mini consoles. So they'll only work with the Mini. So I just kind of thought I'd like to stream some of these, but still sit on my couch back there that's covered in clothes right now. So I went with both of those. And then while I was looking at game stuff on Amazon, I saw 2 games that were on sale that I thought, hey, I need to add those to the collection. So I got the Mario Maker. Sorry, my camera's backwards. Mario Maker 2 and Super Mario Brothers U Deluxe, which I have. I've got the first Mario Maker on the Wii U, and I've got Super Mario Brothers Deluxe, Super Mario Brothers U Deluxe on the Wii U as well. But I just wanted to have them both on Switch. Mario Maker 2 is quite a bit different on the Switch. And I had a good time streaming the first Mario Maker back when I did that and had a lot of good interaction. So I'm going to get that set up as well. This isn't really a new get because I talked about it last week, but my Green Goblin came in from my retro Spider-Man Marvel Legends.
So awesome.
So is that it? You got them all now?
No, I still have 2 more. One, the Gwen Stacy with the Mary Jane head is coming in a couple days, I think, and Spider-Man, who knows when he's coming. So not a new order, but it just showed up finally. And then while I was looking at that stuff, I thought, hey, look what Amazon has. They've got the giant Venom Marvel Legends.
Dang.
So I had to go ahead and grab him because I'd like to have all of Spider-Man's villains. So that thing is huge. I mean, compared to how big the Green Goblin is, he's a lot bigger.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And then
I like that.
When me and the boy, we actually got out last Friday. We haven't been out anywhere since March, so we actually went to GameStop, went to my local game store, used game store. Didn't really find anything there. But we went to GameStop and we're looking around, and I was looking at a couple like Spider-Man things, and the guy said, "Hey, I noticed you guys looking at Spider-Man stuff. Are you Avengers fans?" I said, "Well, yeah, I love the Avengers." And he said, "Hang on, I'll be right back."
In the woods?
He said, "I've got something for you. I'll be right back." And he came out with this Avengers pin set. They're like chrome, and he just gave them to us.
And see, that's so awesome. See, now I've been sending Matt some Instagram posts of some cool pins that some people I follow make, and he's like, "I just don't get the pin thing.
I don't get the pin thing." But I'm not gonna say no. I mean, and they're like heavy. They're not plastic either. They're like they have weight to them.
Right. But I think the pin thing, like I told you in the messages, I think it goes back to the kids being into the the vintage stuff and the blue jean jackets and the pins and the backpacks and stuff like that. So, pins are, I don't want to say they're crazy popular, but heck,
Pins are in.
Pogs are coming back.
Yeah,
for Pete's sake.
But then when he gave me the pins, and we both looked around the store. I was like, I don't really see anything I want to get. There's no games or anything. But I felt like, well, he gave me a set of pins. I need to buy something, even though it's not like a mom and pop. It's freaking GameStop, right? So I decided to get something, and it's something I'd been looking at anyway.
Here we go.
And I don't have any collectibles from this. I only have the game and nothing else from it.
Wait.
I got a Spider-Man PS4. I say statue. It's like a PVC. It's not like resin or anything like that. But it's cool because he's sitting on a taxi cab roof.
That's cool.
So I'm gonna take him out and find a good place to put him. And like I said, it's not like really high quality like resin, like the big like the sideshow statues. But it's still pretty neat. And it's the first. As much as I love this game, I don't have any collectibles from it at all. No figures, no nothing.
Your PlayStation is completely Spider-Man.
Well, besides that.
Okay.
But so I needed something for the collection, so I decided to pick this up since he gave me some free pins. So, and that's awesome. It. I went a little overboard with the pickups this week. So
nah,
it's awesome though.
Sometimes you gotta treat yourself, man.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I treated myself last week too, so I gotta stop treating myself.
One quick thing before we go, I want to talk about is I showed you guys this earlier, but I didn't show the listeners. So I took one of my old my old PSP.
Woo!
And I modded it, put some
retro gaming
custom firmware, and loaded it with every
that looks really
USA release of Nintendo Entertainment
Dude, that's awesome.
System.
I love that.
And Super Nintendo. So now I can kind of sit upstairs and chill and play some retro games and use my old PSP that
now can you do will that let you do save states and suspend games and stuff like that? Nice.
You just hit left on the toggle on the little
the D-pad?
Yeah, well no, the little joystick.
Yeah.
So the joystick really you don't use it in Nintendo games, you know what I mean? Yeah. So it has a bunch of options, like you hit left and then you can do save states and different little graphics configurations and play in 4:3 or 16:9 or whatever. But yeah,
and I'm assuming
that was kind of cool.
I'm assuming that now that you've modded it, it won't play the UHD games, like the actual PSP games.
So you can. You're only modding the way it works. So, I mean, these guys that do this kind of stuff are just brilliant. Mm-hmm. So you boot to your firmware off of the memory stick. So when you go in, it boots up. When you turn on the PSP, it boots up just like normal.
Okay.
And you go to game, memory stick, and then there's like a file that you click on, and then it like reboots your PSP. And so you're rebooting then into their custom firmware. And then from that, then you can launch the emulator. You can't launch the emulator without first launching that custom firmware.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So it's like you can use it regularly and then like, I just want to play some Contra. So then you can load up that firmware, by clicking a couple buttons, and then it reboots it, and then you're in the custom firmware.
Yeah, we were at my local the used game, not the GameStop, but my used game store here, and they had 3 PSPs. And I've been wanting to get one again since I got rid of mine a long time ago, and I didn't at the time, but I think I'm going to go back and get one just because I just want to have one, and I've still got one of my PSP games for some reason.
But games like Ninja Gaiden that were way too hard for me. I think we talked about this before. They're just they're easy to play, but they're hard to beat the whole game.
Right.
Especially when we were kids. Now that you have these emulators with safe states, you can get to levels of the game that you could never get to before.
Right.
Because you can play for 15, 20 minutes. I've had a good little session. I'm going to save this safe state right there and then pick it up the next time from right there,
Yep.
Or clear a level or clear a boss and then save the state and then move on from there.
So, I don't know.
Because nowadays, all games have that.
Yeah. I don't know how we played games back in the day without being able to do that. How did we do that?
Dude, I remember Metal Gear having like some crazy code that you had to write down or something.
Yes. I mean, all the codes.
they were just nuts. And like you'd have to write, and if you messed one up, then you were done.
Yeah,
that's why something like the Game Genie was invented to hack our NES games, because they were too freaking hard to get through.
But we didn't think they were hard at the time. But now I play anything. I'm like, this is impossible.
Yep. I remember Matt, for a short stint, he had a streaming career, and he would, on Saturday mornings, he would stream
that was
like
fun.
cartoons,
cartoon related games. Yeah.
And you were playing what, DuckTales or something?
Yeah, it was Disney. It was a collection of Disney DuckTales, and
constantly was complaining about how
it was so hard.
Games were.
They were. I agree. All right, you guys got anything else before we wrap it up? Opie, you got anything you want to talk about?
Nope. Everything's good.
Yeah.
I'm going to save it for next week, but guys, I went to a tree auction yesterday.
I saw the
I don't know what that is.
So I'm going to leave that as a tease.
Okay.
Because I just want you to ponder on that for a week.
I'm intrigued. Put that in the show notes for next week, because
I went to a tree auction.
Okay. Never heard of that.
Most people haven't.
Wow.
All right. Well, you guys got anything else before we take off?
Just remember to be good to each other. Don't spread hate. Love each other.
Yep. Catch us on the social medias.
Yeah. You guys, real quick, this is being streamed on. I've been streaming this on my Twitch channel, Bumpkins TV, for a while, but you guys are streaming on Facebook now, right? Right?
We are. We are right now. Yep.
We have a Facebook page, Anything New Podcast, which will go live on there. I also streamed it, or also, shared it on my timeline. I think Pete shared it on his. Instagram, we're the Anything New Podcast. Twitter, at Anything New Cast. Gmail, Anything New Podcast at gmail.com. And I know we've not mentioned it in a couple episodes, but I think we're still looking for some people to give away some game keys to. So, follow us, slide into our DMs, let us know what you think of the show. And we'll hit you like a video game. I mean, it's a free video game on Steam. Yeah. If you have Steam,
they're free video games.
Yeah, and it was funny. I was looking through the Twitter while we were talking on here, and it just speaking of Steam, and I saw a crazy tweet that if you had $583,000, you could buy everything on Steam right now. That's how much everything on Steam costs. Okay,
dang.
But that was random. But anyway, so Matt, real quick. I know we got some channels created in our Discord. We are all together on here on Discord, and we have a Discord set up, but I don't think we've opened it up for fans yet.
Not yet. Next week, it'll be ready.
Next week, we'll roll that out. Little teaser. Stay tuned. Tune in.
Yeah. Public Discord.
We'll get some big scissors out and cut that tape next week.
That's right.
Yep.
All righty. Well, we'll wrap it up there. This has been episode 6. We'll be back next week, and we'll catch you guys then.
Yep. Stay safe. Be good.
See you later.